Greetings from the House of Revival in Hebron. We are in the 9 days, a few days before Shabbat Chazon, before Tisha B'Av, days we pray will soon be transformed into days of joy and gladness, with the help of God. I am looking at this evening. The evening, the Halula anniversary of the passing of the Holy Ari. Remind me at the end to tell a story about Maro, likely referring to Rabbi Chaim Vital, a story related to redemption. Why is this Shabbat called Shabbat Chazon? There is the pre-Zadok, Rabbi Zadok HaKohen of Lublin, in Devarim, section 13, who offers a very important foundation and expands upon it. This Shabbat is called Shabbat Chazon after the opening of the Haftarah, the vision Chazon of Isaiah. Incidentally, Rabbi Zadok has a specific progression regarding all three Haftarot of rebuke. He says, the first is called, the words Divrei of Jeremiah, the second is called, no, pay attention, and the third Haftarah is, vision, Chazon. There is speech, hearing, and seeing, and he explains their meanings. It is very interesting. Here he speaks about the concept of vision, and offers a tremendous foundation. One must understand why Shabbat Nakamu is named after the opening of its Haftarah, which is a language of comfort, and begins the Sabbaths of comfort. But here, the essence of the Haftarah is the rebukes that follow. And if it were because Chazon hints at seeing, then the previous Sabbaths should have been called Shabbat Divrei, or Shabbat Shimu. Why does only this Shabbat have this name? Shabbat Chazon. However, the matter is based on what is said. Even its prophets found no vision from God. A vision is a prophecy, a vision is a gaze into the distance, it is greatness. And it is stated in the Midrash, even its prophets, these are the true prophets, found no vision from God. What is the idea behind the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av being called a Shabbat of greatness, of vision? We have already said that every Shabbat includes all the holiness that will come during the weekdays that follow it. Holy Shabbat includes the events of the following week. And what is the proof? We bless the month on the Shabbat preceding Rosh Hodesh. The Shabbat before Rosh Hodesh includes the holiness of Rosh Hodesh. And so, this Shabbat that precedes Tisha B'Av, the weekdays that follow, well, that which occurred then, the day of the destruction of our holy temple, is not included in the previous Shabbat, because Shabbat is only a collection of blessings and holiness. But the fact that the day of Tisha B'Av is the day of the birth of the soul and spirit of the Messiah, this is included in this Shabbat that precedes Tisha B'Av. The Messiah is born on Tisha B'Av. The light of the Messiah who will be born on Tisha B'Av is included in the previous Shabbat, and he receives his holiness from Holy Shabbat. Therefore, this Shabbat is called Shabbat Chazon, as on it is fitting that the Messiah be born and it be fulfilled. I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your young men shall see visions. In other words, this Shabbat is called Shabbat Chazon after the fact that in this week the Messiah will be born, and we see a great light of prophecy returning to us. Shabbat Chazon is a Shabbat of prophecy. Prophecy is returning to the people of Israel. It is already felt on the Shabbat before Tisha B'Av. Because Tisha B'Av itself is a great day, a day of pain, a day of greatness. How is it possible that the Messiah is born on Tisha B'Av? Now let's ask a second question. How can it be that the Messiah is born on Tisha B'Av? Rabbi Zadok answers and says, look, the people of Israel were in a very low place. Jeremiah and Isaiah cried out, we are heading for disaster, but they did not believe it, the temple. It cannot be. But when the people of Israel saw the destruction in reality, at that moment, they repented. Everything was fine until they saw it. So if they repented, why was there destruction? Because they remembered too late, the disaster had already occurred. That is the explanation of Rabbi Zadok. The Bnei Yisachar brings a wonderful explanation, which he also expands upon according to Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz and the Maggid of Mezerich, regarding how the Messiah is born on Tisha B'Av. He says, I heard in the name of the holy rabbi, our teacher Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz, regarding what our sages said in the Jerusalem Talmud, on Tisha B'Av, the son of David was born. The reason is that the soul of the Messiah, the son of David, is a higher and more inclusive soul, the greatest soul in Israel, the soul of the Messiah. If so, for the birth of such a soul, a higher union is needed. Where is such a soul born? It requires a tremendous power of holiness. We can contemplate the matter of physical love in this world, like the love between friends or a husband and wife. When they are together, the love is not as apparent. When do people reveal love? When do they give a kiss to their child? Sending a child to kindergarten, a kiss. Sending him to the army, traveling with him to the induction center. Sending a child on a flight abroad, traveling to the airport, accompanying him, giving him a hug. What kind of hug do you give him? A hug for 6 months. He is going to travel in India, in the East, so he remembers that he has a father and mother here. What do you do? Isn't that a strong hug, that this love will sustain him? When people want to part and travel far for a long time, then the souls are moved by extra love and intense love because of the magnitude of the yearning. Then there is a great desire to express love for one another. And therefore, a person is obligated to visit his wife when he goes on a journey. And if so, consider this, the Shabbat of separation, namely Tisha B'Av, when the Holy One, blessed be He, sends the congregation of Israel into a 2,000-year exile. The Holy One took us out of the temple, out of Jerusalem, into exile, but He said to us, a minute before you go home, come, get a hug. The Holy One gave us a hug. Not for moments, a hug for 2,000 years. The strongest hug in the world. When did we receive it? On Tisha B'Av. Once, a youth in a youth village told me, there was a Hanukkah quiz, and at the end there was first, second, and third place. This boy got fourth place. I said to him, wow, you were so close, but you didn't get a prize because only the first 3 places do. Come, get a hug. I hugged him. He said to me a sentence that went straight to the heart. This hug was worth much more to me than the prize. What is a hug? Rabbi Karlbach tells that he once went to a Hanukkah party at a prison in the United States to hold a party for Jewish inmates. He walked down the corridor, and a huge black man, a great criminal, a big bully, was walking toward him. Rabbi Karlbach was not afraid of criminals or bullies. He sees such a person, pow. He grabbed him, gave him such a hug. This man left Rabbi Karlbach and said, if I had received such a hug at age 10, I wouldn't be here today. Says the B'nai Yissachar, on Tisha B'Av, we received the deepest hug in the world. The Holy One sent us into exile, and said to us, come here, a hug. And from this hug, the Messiah is born, because this is the deepest connection between the Holy One and the congregation of Israel, the greatest love there is. When is it expressed? On Tisha B'Av. And from this, the most elevated soul is born. Therefore, since because of our many sins the separation occurred on Tisha B'Av, the day of departure on a journey, and just as between a couple who are setting out on a journey there is a commandment to visit one's wife, so too the Holy One gives us a deep hug on Tisha B'Av. And from this, the Messiah is born, the most elevated and inclusive soul. Based on this, says the B'nai Yissachar, the question of the students of the Maggid of Mezerich, who questioned their teacher, is resolved. On one hand, the Gemara in Tractate Yoma, page 54, says that when the enemies found the cherubim in the Holy of Holies, they were intertwined. And they said, look what they are engaged in, what is in the Holy of Holies, hugging cherubim. But the Gemara in Bava Batra, page 99, says that the faces of the cherubim were toward one another only when they did the will of the place, but if they did not do the will of the place, their faces were toward the house. How can this be? The B'nai Yissachar answers, the answer is, also what the Maggid of Mezerich told them, until today they were distant, until today their faces were toward the house, but today, on Tisha B'Av, at the moment of the destruction, they are hugging each other. This is the deepest and greatest moment. Tisha B'Av, a hard day, with a great light, with a great anticipation of salvation. Ika, falls in the attitude toward Torah scholars. From here, I want to connect to another verse in our Parsha, and the verse is difficult, many have the custom to read it to the tune of, Ika, how, Ika, can I myself alone bear your cumbrance, and your burden, and your strife? Rashi says, your cumbrance, Torchachim, teaches that Israel were burdensome. One of them would see his opponent winning in court and would say, I have witnesses to bring, I have evidence to bring, I will add more judges to you. They were not calm. The next Rashi is impossible to grasp at all. Your burden, Masashim, teaches that they were heretics. Heretics are those who despise Torah scholars. Moses would start to leave, and they would say, what did the son of Amram see to leave? Perhaps he is not sane in his own home. What? Is he fighting with his wife? Not 100%. He would delay leaving, they said. What did the son of Amram see to not leave? What do you think? He is sitting and advising you bad advice and thinking evil thoughts about you. What are we talking about? The channels of poison and panic that talk about Netanyahu and he is like this and he is like that. Come on, they spoke about Moses, shocking things. About Moses, if he delayed leaving, they said, what do you think? Do you know why he delayed? He is sitting at home thinking bad thoughts about you, how to destroy the people of Israel. Come on, how can one speak like that about Moses? It's not grasped at all, it's impossible to grasp such a thing. The basis of the Torah is the attitude toward Torah scholars. Moses, who can even speak at all? Now, this is the behavior of the generation of the desert. That is how they spoke about Moses. What do we expect to happen afterward? The Midrash says, 3 times, Ika, is said. Moses said, how can I bear alone? Isaiah said, how has she become a harlot? The Haftarah of the Parsha. Jeremiah said, how does she sit solitary? A parable of a matron whom 3 groomsmen saw, 3 friends saw her, one saw her in her prosperity, that is Moses, one saw her in her flippancy, that is Isaiah, one saw her in her decay, that is Jeremiah. What is the idea? Rabbi Zevin brings a midrash of the sages, which says, if you had merited, you would have heard, how can I bear alone? Now, since you have not merited, you hear, how she sits solitary. What is, if you had merited? Basically, the sages mark first points of breakage. You ask, how did you get to the sin of the spies? It is found here. How did you get to the rebellion against the Holy One? Here, in the attitude toward Torah scholars. He brings that basically the root of the great falls could have been found in the time of Moses. And the root of the roots of the falls, of the Ika, is in the Ika, where are you? That was said to the first man. Ika, is the letters of Ika, where are you? How connected are you? Wake up to yourself. A look at reality, revival and crises. Here I want to return to us and touch a little on a personal note. 20 years ago you were children, small children, I don't know what you remember from that period. I was a young Avrek then, we lived in Kfar Darim. We moved there after, this horrific plan arrived in the world, the disengagement plan. And we screamed and demonstrated and tried, while against us was a media system that allowed the Prime Minister to do everything. He pulled the plan out of his sleeve. A year earlier he said, the law of Netzarim is like the law of Tel Aviv, and suddenly he decided that he was destroying 20 settlements without any agreement, without anything. And more settlements in Samaria. There were investigations against him. There was a saying then by one of the politicians, and he said, as the size of the investigation, so the size of the uprooting. At that moment, he, who was hated by the media coddled him like an etrog, protecting him and letting him do things that are unbelievable. A disc came out with songs, missiles will fall in Ashkelon, and so on. This week they showed a video of Dr. Sodi Namir, by the way a graduate of the yeshiva, whom the doctor in Gush Katif saved people in the most difficult terrorist attacks, and he said to the soldiers, it will be on your conscience, there will be missiles on Ashkelon, there will be missiles on Netivot, there will be terrorists here. They said, look what a prophecy. But did anyone imagine in their life that 1,200 Jews would be killed in a day? They never imagined such a disaster, never imagined such a thing. And since then and until today we are not calm, we are paying prices all the time. 2 things must be said. The first thing is Gaza is the land of Israel and we must settle it according to the commandment of the Torah. This is not our choice, this is a divine command and we are obligated to it. And as long as we go in such ways to save the hostages, to defeat Hamas, to do this, it is ours because the Holy One gave it to us and commanded us to conquer and settle, and you shall inherit it and dwell in it. Well said the Minister of Finance today. I do not want to return to Gush Katif. Gush Katif is small for us, we want the Gaza Strip. The second point, which he stole. Gaza, return. They stole us. With terrible and disgusting violence, they stole us from our homes. They destroyed them. And whoever stole must return. And here is a third point, shocking, shocking. This plan passed with a large majority in the Knesset, to our great regret. There is not one who will say, I was wrong. Wicked as they are, 1. What needs to happen for a person to say, I was wrong? How can one be so wicked? So obtuse. What needs to happen? It was dangerous in Gush Katif, very dangerous. Did you bring peace? Did you add blessing to the world? This, fallen, 1, Shal Mofaz, stands now, after Simchat Torah. I am not sorry for it, I am not sorry, nothing, I'm not talking to you about the Prime Minister's sons, He then promised the whole world. Wonderful days are coming, what tourism there will be here. I am dismantling a whole division, the Gaza division, there will no longer be a Gaza division. They conquered the Gaza division a year and a half ago, they conquered it. 3 brigade commanders were killed, 1,200 dead in a day. The Minister of Defense stands and says, I was not wrong. How much can a person be obtuse? We look at the prophecies of Isaiah, Jeremiah. Come on, I am talking to you about things that happened before our eyes. Before our eyes, we see this. You were there, you fought there. It's not grasped, no regrets. What needs to happen? You say, how much can one be obtuse? And if there is not one politician who says, I was wrong, what do we want from the Holy One? What do we want? What do we expect to happen? What? How can one be like that? It's terrible. What that teaches them, what that teaches us. And yet I want to be optimistic, and I want to look at the good things. And a few good things happened, on the hard and painful road, but the people of Israel that we did not believe, we believed, we did not see, that he could rise up, he is rising up. Anyone who serves in the army returns and says and writes and publishes, there are no leftists in the army. There is, center, there are no leftists, no more. Hundreds of thousands were drafted, jumped. Just on Simchat Torah Day, between 300 to 400 soldiers were killed when they jumped to save people. The power of self-sacrifice of the people of Israel is mighty, the people of Israel is heroic, the people of Israel has mighty power. And here comes the next point, which is our point of anticipation for salvation. Terrible things happened, but also wonderful things happened in the last year. Since the days of the 3 weeks of last year, when Al-Aruri was eliminated in Lebanon, and Haniya in Iran, and later Nasrallah, and later Sinwar, and later, the conquest of Lebanon, and Syria, and a little more Syria, these are things that happened in the last year. It's a miracle of miracles. Add to that the attack in Iran. We are living in a period that is wonderful. But regarding the Gaza Strip, the Holy One does not give us discounts. We paid terrible prices. Another thing must be said, we are behaving in stupidity that is unbelievable. You read the words of the prophets, you read them, you say, what is happening today? They held a meeting last Shabbat behind the backs of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, they decided to increase aid in every possible way. Pouring huge amounts of aid into Gaza, humanitarian aid, feeding our enemies, with billions. They are fat. They are supposedly 2 years without supply lines, they still have plenty of weapons and they continue. A wonderful statement by the Chief of Staff in the afternoon, it will take us between 2 to 5 years to conquer the Strip. Smotrich said to the Chief of Staff, apologize to Artzi Halevi, he was much more combative than you when you attacked him. But to know about these things, where are we? We are not clear, not sharp, terrible and awful, terrible and awful. So one must divide reality. On one hand it is not simple, with our anticipation. We are not clear and not sharp. If our anticipation is great salvation, and Rabbi Charlap writes that the anticipation of salvation itself brings the redemption closer, and if the days are auspicious days and we do not anticipate, then woe is us, the redemption will not materialize. Let's talk about 2 very good points that happened, one point in the settlement in Judea and Samaria. Yehuda Eliyahu, head of the settlement administration, said to me, until 2 years ago we were something like 128 settlements, today 178 settlements. Within less than 2 years another 50 settlements were announced. A third of the settlements added to Judea and Samaria, unbelievable. In a situation where we thought there were no more. There is no week that at least one farm is not established in Judea and Samaria. There is a mighty power of settlement here, and this is also a result of the anticipation of salvation. And Rabbi Charlap writes, and I want here to refer to some shocking things I heard a few days ago, statements I thought did not exist in the world anymore. Some rabbis said, we still cannot, still are not capable, the time has not yet come. What? After 2 years like this you still think you dictate to the Holy One when it will be? Rabbi Charlap writes, we must be full of faith that the people of Israel is truly worthy of redemption at any hour. How can this be? Because the people of Israel on the level of the whole is completely clean, and all the sins are in the outer shell, on the level of the individual. But the whole is clean and worthy of redemption. And if you ask, if so, why hasn't the redemption arrived until today? This is a question of knowing the Holy One, hidden secrets of God. We have no explanation. And we also see redemption. We see redemption in Hebron, we see redemption in construction, we see redemption in settlement, we see redemption in the people of Israel. The people of Israel is in huge processes of progress. We want more. Story of the Holy Ari. I want to finish with a story related to the Holy Ari, whose Yarzate anniversary of passing is today, that the merit of the Holy Ari has contributed to us for a complete redemption with great mercy soon. There was a governor in Jerusalem who noticed a phenomenon. Every Friday he hears water flowing under the road. He called the experts, said to them, "Explain to me what I hear." They said to him, "What you hear is the Gihon waters. This is a spring that King Hezekiah blocked, and this spring bubbles all the time, but in ordinary days there is noise in the streets, you don't hear it. On Friday afternoon, when all the Muslims enter the mosque, it is quiet in Jerusalem and then you hear the water." The Turkish governor in Jerusalem said to them, "I want them to open this spring for me, the Gihon spring." They said to him, "We don't know, we have no idea, speak with the Jews." He spoke with the Jews. They said to him, "There is one sage who can, Rabbi Chaim Vital, student of the Holy Ari, speak with him." He said to Rabbi Chaim Vital, "Within 3 days I demand that you open the Gihon spring, if not, I will punish you with a severe punishment." Rabbi Chaim Vital did not want to open it, did not want to use holy names, and he said what he said and arrived in Damascus. He met the Holy Ari there. The Holy Ari said to him, "Why didn't you want to open the Gihon waters?" He said to him, "I didn't want to use holy names." The Holy Ari said to him, "Fine, and how did you get to Damascus?" "With holy names." "So what happened in the end? You used holy names, but you didn't open the spring. Know that the governor of Jerusalem is a reincarnation of Sennacherib, and you are a reincarnation of King Hezekiah. And if you had opened the spring, the Messiah would have come." Rabbi Chaim Vital said to him, "I will do it now." He said to him, "The time has already passed. This was 500 years ago. We were close. Our role, to anticipate the redemption, and to know that as much as we have intellect, the Holy One leads the redemption. And we have seen in the last 2 years such wonderful things, and wonderful miracles, and tremendous salvations. We on one hand must be full of anticipation for wonderful things that can happen at any moment, and at the same time, a lot of practical connection to the redemption. The practical connection to the redemption is to want to redeem the land of Israel, to want to redeem the land, to want to settle the Gaza Strip. It is ours, we must settle it, to be full of anticipation for the building of the land in practice. And to strengthen the settlement here in Hebron, with the help of God, that we will merit to establish a new neighborhood here in the city of the patriarchs in the coming month. With the help of God, classes will be taught from the new neighborhood, with the help of God, that it will be established and expand the Jewish settlement in Hebron, expand the settlement in general, and raise the flag of Torah and settlement of Yeshivat Nir, that it will rise and flourish with the help of God. That we will merit with the help of God a true vision, to an illumination of salvation, to an illumination of prophecy, to an illumination of redemption. Blessings to our friends who are far from the city of the patriarchs but remain connected in the heart, remembering the connection and the bond. That we will merit with the help of God that these days will be transformed for us into days of joy and gladness. We will merit the building of the Holy Temple, to a close redemption with great mercy soon.